Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pods. I am Leonardo.
Whoa! Good morning, students. And I'm Elizabeth.
Today, we are diving into something a little different, like really different.
Different good or different,
Oh, definitely different good. Today, we are exploring an essential topic for anyone looking to excel in English.
Ever feel like you're just about ready to erupt? Like that simmering frustration is about to completely boil over.
Yeah.
You're not alone. We're gonna dive into the world of anger today.
Mm-hmm.
Exploring excerpts from How to Control Our Anger. But this isn't just about, understanding what anger is, right?
Right.
It's about giving you a practical toolkit to actually manage it.
Yeah, that's right. We often think of anger as this negative force, but it's fascinating that it's actually a natural biological response, like our body's alarm system.
Oh, so it's like our inner caveman. He's still freaking out about, saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah.
But now it's triggered by traffic jams and overflowing inboxes.
Exactly. It's that fight or flight response kicking in, but instead of facing off with a predator, we're dealing with everyday stressors. And the key is learning to recognize what's really going on, like beneath the surface.
Beneath the surface of that anger. Yeah. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we decode our anger?
Well, the source talks about anger often masking deeper emotions. Think about a time you snapped at someone.
Oh, yeah.
Was it really about what they did, or were you actually feeling hurt, stressed, or maybe even a bit insecure?
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that. I remember this one time I got into it with a friend because they were late to meet me, And on the surface, I was furious about their lack of punctuality. But if I'm honest, I was mostly hurt because it made me feel like our plans weren't important to them.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. And once you start recognizing those underlying emotions, then you can start to, see your own anger patterns. The source breaks down anger into three main types: passive, aggressive, and assertive.
All right, let's unpack these anger styles. I like that. What exactly does passive anger look like?
Imagine it like this. You're stewing in your frustration, but instead of directly addressing it, you let it leak out in subtle ways.
Yeah.
Maybe you withdraw from others, become sarcastic, or hold on to resentment for ages. It's anger's way of going underground.
So you're not outwardly exploding,
right?
But you're definitely not letting it go either.
Right.
I got it.
Good.
Now, aggressive anger, this is probably the one we're most, familiar with, right?
Right.
It's the yelling, the door slamming, the full-on eruption.
Right. It's that outward explosion where you're reacting without a filter, often saying or doing things you regret later. It can be pretty intimidating,
Yeah.
and damaging to relationships.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the silent simmer and the volcanic blast. What's this assertive anger all about? Is there a way to actually, be angry and healthy?
That's the exciting part. Assertive anger is about finding that balance. It's about communicating your needs and feelings clearly and directly without resorting to attacks or bottling things up. It's like speaking your truth with confidence and respect, both for yourself and the other person.
So it's not about never feeling angry, but it's about kind of becoming the master of your anger instead of letting it master you.
Exactly. And that's where those, practical strategies from the source come in.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into those next, giving you a toolkit for managing anger in those heated moments.
All right. So we've unmasked the different types of anger and seen how it can kind of disguise itself as other emotions.
Right.
But now let's get to the practical stuff.
Okay.
How do we actually handle those moments when anger starts to flare up? What tools can we use to keep that inner caveman, from taking over?
Well, the source offers some great in-the-moment techniques.
Okay.
Think of these as your emergency kit, those times when anger threatens to hijack your cool. And the first one is deceptively simple, but incredibly powerful.
Okay.
Pause before reacting.
Okay. I get that taking a few seconds to breathe can help.
Right.
But what if the other person is really pushing your buttons?
Yeah.
Doesn't that just give them more time to escalate the situation?
It's not about letting them walk all over you.
Right.
It's about giving yourself a chance to shift from reacting impulsively to responding thoughtfully.
Oh, okay.
Imagine it like hitting the pause button on a movie.
Okay, yeah.
It gives you a chance to assess the situation and choose how you want to move forward.
So instead of just blurting out the first thing that comes to mind,
Right.
you're taking a beat to consider what will actually be helpful in the long run.
Exactly. And another helpful tool is changing your environment.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes the best thing you can do when you feel that anger rising is to simply walk away from the situation.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that.
Yeah.
Sometimes just removing yourself from the trigger, even for a few minutes, can help you reset and come back with a clearer head.
Right.
It's like hitting the refresh button on your emotions.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You can also try engaging in a calming activity during that time out.
Oh, okay.
Listening to music,
Yeah.
taking a walk, or even just focusing on your breath can work wonders.
Speaking of breathing,
Yeah.
the source also talks about relaxation techniques
Right.
as a key part of the anger toolkit.
Yes.
What are some specific things people can try?
Deep breathing exercises are fantastic.
Yeah.
When you consciously slow down your breath, you're actually sending a signal to your nervous system to chill out.
Okay.
It's like hitting the brakes on that adrenaline rush.
So you're literally calming your body down,
Right.
which can help you think more clearly
Yeah.
and make better choices.
Absolutely. And there's also progressive muscle relaxation,
Okay.
where you systematically tense and release different muscle groups.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how much tension we hold on to without even realizing it.
That's a great point. Sometimes I don't even realize how tense I am until I consciously try to relax.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of visualization.
Mm.
Imagine yourself in a peaceful scene,
Yeah.
a beach, a forest,
Mm.
wherever you feel calm and centered.
Okay.
Bringing those sensory details to mind can actually shift your emotional state.
It's like mentally transporting yourself to your happy place.
Right.
I love that. Now, what about expressing anger in a way that doesn't damage relationships?
Yeah.
The source mentions using I statements.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
It's all about shifting the focus from blaming the other person to expressing your own feelings and needs.
Okay.
Instead of saying, you always make me so angry, try saying, I feel frustrated when this happens.
Oh, so it's about owning your emotions and expressing them in a way that invites understanding
Yes,
rather than creating defensiveness.
exactly. Now, all these techniques are great for handling those immediate anger flare-ups,
Right.
but what about the long game? How do we build that emotional resilience so we're not constantly battling these intense reactions?
That's what I'm really curious about. How do we go from being reactive to being more in control of our anger?
That's where the source's long-term strategies come in.
Okay.
They're like building blocks for a stronger, more resilient use.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is all about knowing your triggers.
Triggers as in like those things that set off your anger alarm.
Exactly. Start paying attention to what consistently pushes your buttons.
Okay.
Is it certain types of situations,
Yeah.
specific people, or even particular times of day?
So it's like becoming a detective of your own anger patterns.
Precisely. And once you know your triggers, you can start brainstorming strategies to navigate them more effectively.
Okay.
Maybe you need to set boundaries with certain people or practice saying no more often.
It's about having a game plan so you're not caught off guard when those triggers show up.
Exactly. Now, the next long-term strategy is all about mindfulness,
Okay.
which might sound a bit woo-woo, but it's actually incredibly practical.
They've heard a lot about mindfulness, but I'm not sure I fully grasp it. What does it actually mean in terms of managing anger?
Think of it as training your mind to become an observer of your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, okay.
Instead of getting swept away by that anger wave, you're learning to notice it without judgment. It's like creating space between you and the emotion, so you have more choice in how you respond.
So instead of being controlled by your anger, you're becoming more aware of it.
Yeah.
It's like you're stepping back and saying, okay, I see you, anger, I know you're there, but I'm not going to let you run the show.
That's a great way to put it. And another powerful tool in the long-term strategy arsenal is developing your emotional intelligence.
Okay.
It sounds complicated,
Yeah.
but it's really about understanding and managing your emotions in a healthy way.
So it's like becoming more fluent in the language of your own emotions.
Yes.
But how does that help with anger specifically?
Well, emotional intelligence has two key components.
Okay.
First, it's about accurately recognizing your own emotions. It's about being able to say, okay, this is anger. I'm feeling not sadness or anxiety.
And the second component.
It's about understanding the emotions of others.
Okay.
This is huge for navigating conflict effectively.
Yeah.
If you can sense that the other person is feeling stressed or insecure, You can approach the situation with more empathy and understanding.
So it's not just about managing your own anger,
Right.
but also being sensitive to the emotional landscape of the situation.
Exactly. And here's another tool for your anger management arsenal.
Okay.
Physical activity.
Okay.
It might seem unrelated,
Yeah.
but exercise can be surprisingly effective for releasing pent-up tension and shifting your mood.
Oh, I totally get this.
Yeah.
After a tough day, sometimes a good workout is the best medicine. It's like physically releasing that anger energy.
It really is. And the source even suggests specific activities that could be particularly helpful for channeling anger in a healthy way,
Oh, like what?
like running, boxing, or even dancing.
Oh, fun.
It's about finding an outlet that works for you where you can move your body and let go of that built-up stress.
So we've talked about a lot of different strategies for managing anger.
We have.
But what happens when, despite all your best efforts, things get out of hand?
Yeah.
What if you find yourself constantly struggling with anger?
Well, that's a really important point, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Sometimes, even with all the tools and techniques in the world, anger can become too intense or frequent to manage alone.
Right.
And that's when reaching out for professional support is not just okay,
Yeah.
but essential.
You're absolutely right. It's like dealing with a physical injury.
Exactly.
If you break your leg, you wouldn't hesitate to see a doctor.
Right.
Emotional wounds can be just as serious, and there's no shame in reaching out for professional support.
Exactly.
The source points out that therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, can be incredibly effective for managing anger.
Yes.
It's about learning to reframe those negative thought patterns and developing healthier coping mechanisms.
Think of CDT as a kind of mental workout, where you learn to identify those unhelpful thoughts that fuel your anger and replace them with more balanced and realistic ones. It's about retraining your brain to respond to situations in a more constructive way.
So far, we've explored a lot of techniques for controlling and managing anger. But now let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
I'm really intrigued by this idea from the source that anger can actually be a force for positive change.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that anger isn't inherently good or bad. It's simply energy.
Okay.
And like any form of energy, it can be channeled in different ways.
Oh,
Instead of letting it simmer and turn into resentment or explode into an outburst,
right.
we can learn to harness it for positive change.
That sounds amazing, but how do we actually do that? Can you give me a concrete example?
Absolutely.
Huh.
Imagine you witness an injustice that makes you furious.
Okay.
Instead of letting that anger consume you, you could channel it into action. You could write to your elected officials, volunteer for an organization fighting for change, or even organize a protest.
So it's about transforming that anger energy into fuel for action, using it to make a difference in the world.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be about grand gestures or social movements either.
Right.
It can be about using anger to set healthy boundaries in your personal life, to motivate yourself to achieve a goal, or to speak up for what you believe in.
This reframing of anger is really powerful.
Yeah.
It's not about denying or suppressing it, but about seeing its potential for good.
Right.
What other strategies does the source offer for shifting our perspective on anger?
One really helpful technique is asking yourself this question.
Okay.
Will this issue still matter in a week, a month, or even a year?
Oh.
It's a great way to put things into perspective and decide if the situation is truly worth getting worked up about.
It's like taking a mental step back and looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Sometimes things that seem huge in the moment shrink down when you consider them from a broader perspective.
Exactly.
Okay.
And another powerful technique is practicing gratitude.
Okay.
It might sound simple,
Yeah.
but it can have a profound impact on your emotional state. When you consciously focus on the good things in your life, it's harder to get bogged down by anger and negativity.
It's like choosing to shine a light on the positive aspects of your experience rather than dwelling on what's frustrating you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of learning from experience, the source also emphasizes the importance of reflecting on those times when anger didn't lead to a positive outcome.
Oh, okay.
It's not about beating yourself up,
Right.
but about turning those anger hiccups into valuable lessons.
So it's about using those experiences as opportunities for growth.
Right.
Instead of dwelling on the mistake, you're asking yourself, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I handle a similar situation differently next time?
It's about turning those anger moments into stepping stones on your path to emotional mastery.
Right.
And the more we reflect on our anger patterns, the better equipped we'll be to break those unhealthy cycles
Yeah.
and respond in a way that aligns with our values.
This deep dive has been packed with so many insightful strategies and perspectives. We've explored everything from the biological roots of anger
Right.
to those in-the-moment techniques,
Yes.
and even this fascinating idea of channeling anger for positive change.
Right.
But there's still one more important piece of this puzzle we need to explore in the final part.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into anger.
Yes.
We've explored a lot of ground from understanding, those initial triggers
Right.
to harnessing anger's energy for positive change.
Right.
But there's one crucial element we haven't fully addressed yet. It's about knowing when to call in reinforcements,
Yeah.
when to seek help from someone who can guide us through, those really tough spots. That's right. We've talked about all these amazing, techniques and strategies that you can use to manage anger. But sometimes it can feel like you're fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
And in those moments, it's vital to remember that asking for help is not a sign of weakness.
Right.
It's actually a powerful step towards healing and growth.
I think a lot of people struggle with this. There's this stigma around seeking help for emotional issues. Like, it means you're not strong enough to handle things on your own.
Right.
But the source really emphasizes that it takes courage to admit you need support.
It does. It's like saying, hey, I'm committed to taking care of my emotional well-being. And I recognize that sometimes I need a little extra help to do that. And the good news is that there are, so many resources available.
Yeah.
Therapists, counselors, support groups, even online programs. It's about finding what works best for you.
Yeah.
Taking that step towards a healthier, happier you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the complex world of anger, what's the biggest takeaway you want to leave our listener with?
Remember, anger isn't something to fear or suppress. It's a natural part of the human experience. The key is understanding its nuances,
Yeah.
learning to express it constructively, and even harnessing its energy for good. It's about moving from feeling controlled by anger to becoming the master of your own emotional responses.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey, and I hope it's given you a fresh perspective on anger and equipped you with some practical tools to navigate it more skillfully. But, the journey doesn't end here. As you go about your day, we want to leave you with one final question to ponder. Think about a recent time you felt angry. What was the true emotion beneath the surface? How could you have expressed it differently? Remember, each moment of anger, whether it's a whisper or a roar, is an opportunity for learning and growth.